Okay, students, so we're going to create the first program. We call that program Hello World. Now we need to start Visual Studio. We can do that a variety of ways. We can go down to the bottom left and we can click here to bring up the Start menu. And in the Start menu, you can see it. I have it here, but you can also just go and search for it here, and you can see that it's also installed directly here. You can also do a search for it in Cortana. You type a few letters and it comes up here. If you want to pin it to the taskbar, you can do that from here. Mine's already pinned, so it says unpin as a toggle. But you can do this and then you can start it from here. Now there was a brief splash screen and then it starts. At the bottom right there is create a new project, and we want to narrow this list down, so let's change platform to Windows, and then we need to narrow this down a little more because you can make lots of different types of projects. So let's go through here and find desktop. Now from desktop this gets a little bit easier. There's one here that is called Windows Forms app. Okay, so click it and then click next. Now we need a project name, and as mentioned before, it is our Hello World app, so we're going to simply name it Hello World. Notice, however, that there is no space between the two words. You can put spaces in, but it is much better if you don't here. Location, this is the default location, and it is hard for many people to just go to that location and find it. They can't remember what it is or whatever. Go over to the right side of that blank and click Browse, and then scroll the wheel all the way to the top and click Desktop. With Desktop, it'll be much easier. Click Select Folder. Now, with this, you'll be able to place the thing. You can click this box or not. It doesn't really matter to me. Click Create. Now you can see, or could have seen briefly there, it started creating that particular box. Now, I have already had this set up, and if you watched my video for setting up Visual Studio to the end, you'll know that this is more convenient. But if you didn't watch it all the way to the end, this is what Visual Studio comes up with by default. If you go out here to the left and click Toolbox, you have this, but it overlaps your work window here. So go up to the top, click the little thumbtack that says Auto Hide, and it will push the toolbox to the left but leave it open, and push the window to the right. Okay, so what we want to do now is make it so that we can display the words Hello World within our program. Now I'm not going to make this overly complicated. We'll make things increasingly complicated as we go on, but what we really need to do here is to find Label in the toolbox and drag one over onto the form. And you can see a label is created called Label 1. Now if we go over to the right bottom here, you can see it says label 1, and these are the properties that are part of that. There's a lot of them, and most of them are not something that you need to worry about. Now these are a little bit kind of haphazardly ordered. There's a thing here that says alphabetical, and I prefer that you click on this, and then this makes everything more orderly. If you scroll to the top of the box after doing that, you see name in parentheses, and there you see label 1. Let's change this name to LBL as a prefix, and then we're going to change this to hello. Now this portion right here must be treated like one word. You can't put spaces in it. And then we're going to scroll down to the bottom where this says text, and we're going to just backspace or delete the characters in there. Okay, so the effect of that is that the label looks very empty and you might think hard to work with, but we're going to work with it in the program. Now when we want something to be placed in a program, when the program starts, to initialize the program, if you will, we can double click on the form, and it creates something called form load. Now form load is where something is started, and we want to start the form comes up, and then we want something to be done one time and at the beginning of the program. In this particular case, we want to fill in the label. The label is called LBL hello, and if you look, the program tries to fill in that particular thing, so we can click that, double click it, and then put a dot, and then everything that is a choice, whether it be a function or whether it be setting some particular aspect of that, can be found here. Now let's scroll down, and you remember we just emptied the text. Well, now we're going to put something in the text within the program. Now we're going to say text equals, and then we're going to say hello world. Now this is what's actually going to be displayed. Okay, so it's in quotes. We'll talk more about a quoted string. This is what we call a static string, and we'll talk more about that. And then we put a semicolon at the end to mark the end of the command. Now when we run this, we click Start. The program will be compiled, and then the form is brought up. This is the running program. Okay, and there you see hello world is displayed where the label was placed on the form. Now to get out of the program, of course, we use the X in the upper right corner. That is the only exit we should ever have from a form, and it is built in. So this is fairly simple. It doesn't need to be complicated. Anything that we see in here is part of the program, and these are events. You can actually see where this says event arguments. Okay, so anything that we activate from the form is an event that occurs. Now, if you've done programming where it was at the command line, you may have gotten used to the fact that it's basically just one command after another, and the program runs fairly simply based on that. However, in a graphical user environment, you find that everything is event related. So something happens within the graphical user environment, and then the program opens up a place for you to program, and you give commands that serve only for that event. Okay, so this is our basic program. It's no more complicated than that, and I wanted you to see how we do this. I'm going to do another video which shows you how to do task 3, and you can see how you're going to build on this particular task so that you are used to this programming. And that's it. I'll see you in the next video.